every age, in every culture, humanity seeks out its saints. We are a species drawn to narrative, and we crave figures who can embody our highest ideals. We look for lives that serve as a moral compass, individuals whose existence is a testament to profound wisdom, unwavering courage, and a relentless commitment to a truth larger than themselves. We think of the quiet, unshakable dignity of Mother Teresa, whose compassion touched the poorest of the poor. We consider the towering intellectual courage of Thomas Aquinas, who dared to synthesize faith and reason into a new way of understanding the world. We remember the revolutionary empathy of St. Francis of Assisi, who found divinity in the humble and the natural. These are figures who, through a lifetime of sacrifice, service, and profound understanding of the human condition, earned their place in the pantheon of moral exemplars. Their stories are complex, their struggles real, their impact undeniable. And then there is the modern age, our age, an age of digital cacophony and relentless political spectacle, an age so starved for genuine heroes, so desperate for icons to rally behind, that it has begun a project of canonization so breathtakingly absurd, so utterly and profoundly disgraceful, that it would be the subject of high comedy, if it weren't so deeply and existentially terrifying. It is the project of making Charlie Kirk a saint. Let us be absolutely, unequivocally clear about what is happening. We are bearing witness to a deliberate and well-funded effort to elevate a man whose primary contribution to public discourse is the industrial scale manufacturing of outrage into a figure of towering intellectual and moral authority. Charlie Kirk, the perpetual boy wonder of the conservative movement, a man who has skillfully constructed a media empire upon the shaky foundations of half-truths, logical fallacies, and full-throated unceasing grievances, is being presented to us not merely as a political commentator, but as a prophet for our troubled times. He is being anointed as the patron saint of the perpetually aggrieved, the holy apostle of the easily debunked statistic, the blessed martyr whose greatest suffering is being fact-checked on social media by a teenager with a smartphone. The concerted attempt to sanctify this particular brand of aggressive, performative ignorance is not just a political phenomenon. It is one of the great intellectual disgraces of our era, a stain on our collective capacity for critical thought. The path to traditional sainthood requires the performance of miracles, events that defy the known laws of nature and point to a divine power. And in a strange, twisted way, Charlie Kirk's career is indeed built upon a certain kind of miracle, the miracle of turning breathtaking intellectual simplicity into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. His signature miracle, performed daily for his legions of followers, is what one might call the miracle of the shrinking face. It's a fascinating phenomenon where he presents himself on stage, face projected onto giant screens as a towering intellect, a colossus of conservative thought. Yet when his arguments are subjected to even the slightest intellectual pressure, they shrink and shrivel in real time until all that remains is the tiny, context-free face of a single misleading talking point. He speaks with the booming, unshakable confidence of a man who has just returned from the mountaintop with newly carved stone tablets, yet his pronouncements are so structurally flimsy, they dissolve upon contact with a single, gentle follow-up question. He has built his entire brand on the slogan, "Facts over feelings," a noble sentiment on its face. Yet, his entire platform is a masterclass in emotional manipulation, a direct and constant appeal to the feeling that someone, somewhere, an academic, a liberal, an immigrant, is getting away with something. And you should be very, very angry about it. He rails against the ivory tower elites and their supposed disdain for the common person, all while broadcasting from his own self-constructed billionaire-funded ivory tower, amplified by the very social media algorithms he claims are silencing him. This isn't the wisdom of a saint. It is the meticulously crafted business model of a gifted grifter who discovered, early on, that in an age of pervasive anxiety, selling the illusion of certainty is infinitely more profitable than engaging in the messy, difficult work of seeking actual truth. Consider his sermons on history and culture, which form the bedrock of his intellectual ministry. He speaks of Western civilization not as the complex, contradictory, and ever-evolving tapestry that it is, but as a fragile, monolithic, porcelain snow globe that he, and he alone, must protect from the gentle tap of a history book. His version of history is a sanitized, family-friendly theme park. It's a place where the brutal complexities of colonialism, the generational sin of slavery, and the long, bloody, and ongoing struggle for civil rights are neatly airbrushed out. They are replaced by a simple, heroic, and deeply misleading narrative of unblemished, God-given greatness. He speaks of the Founding Fathers as if they were a divine council of homogeneous thinkers who all held the exact same beliefs and who would, by sheer coincidence, all be premium subscribers to his podcast. He presents a vision of the past that is not just inaccurate. It is actively and aggressively hostile to the very idea of critical thought and historical inquiry. This isn't historical analysis. It's historical cosplay. It is dressing up in the revered clothes of the past without ever bothering to understand the complex, flawed, and fascinating body that once wore them. To treat this shallow, weaponized nostalgia as profound wisdom is a deep and unforgivable insult to the actual, painstaking work of real historians, and it is a profound insult to the intelligence of his own audience. But perhaps the most cynical and disgraceful part of this entire canonization project is the relentless attempt to frame him as a martyr. The hagiographies of the saints, the stories of their lives, are filled with harrowing tales of genuine persecution. They are stories of individuals who faced down lions in the Colosseum, who were burned at the stake, who stood defiant before empires for the sake of their convictions. Charlie Kirk's martyrdom, by contrast, consists of being politely told his statistics are incorrect by a college student during a Q&A session. His persecution is having a speaking event protested by people who exercise their own right to free speech to disagree with him. He masterfully conflates criticism with persecution and disagreement with oppression. He stands on brightly lit stages, protected by layers of private security, his voice amplified to millions of people across the globe, and speaks with a quavering voice about the experience of being silenced. He wields immense institutional power and cultural influence, while simultaneously claiming the sacred status of a powerless victim. This is the martyrdom of the megaphone, the bizarre and uniquely modern spectacle of a man shouting into one of the world's loudest microphones that nobody is allowing him to speak. It is a performance of victimhood so cynical, so transparently self-serving, that it cheapens and trivializes the very real struggles of actual political dissidents and genuinely persecuted people in authoritarian regimes around the world. He doesn't bear a cross for his beliefs. He expertly monetizes a fictional one. What we are witnessing is not the organic rise of a great public thinker. It is the artificial insemination of a dangerous idea into the body politic. That idea is that confidence is a perfect substitute for competence. That volume is an adequate substitute for virtue, and that the ability to provoke and trigger your opponents is a more valuable skill than the ability to persuade and enlighten them. The sainthood of Charlie Kirk is a flashing red warning light, a symptom of a culture that has begun to worship the performance of intelligence over the difficult, humble practice of it. He is the perfect saint for an unserious time, a flawless leader for people who want to feel the righteous thrill of fighting in a great cultural war without ever being burdened with the homework, without ever having to read the books, learn the history, or honestly engage with the strongest arguments of the other side. He offers his followers the intoxicating gift of absolution without reflection, and the powerful feeling of conviction without the inconvenient necessity of evidence. The ultimate disgrace, then, is not Charlie Kirk himself. He is merely a product, a brilliant entrepreneur who identified a gaping hole in the modern emotional market for righteous indignation and filled it with astonishing and undeniable success. The true lasting disgrace lies with the vast and powerful ecosystem that props him up. The political operators and media figures who knowingly nod along, pretending his shallow talking points are profound insights. The wealthy donors who fund this enterprise, understanding that a misinformed populace is a compliant one. And yes, the audience that allows itself to be fed this intellectual junk food and proudly calls it a feast. To make a saint of Charlie Kirk is to hoist a white flag. It is to announce as a culture that we have collectively given up on the hard, frustrating and necessary work of thinking. It is to declare that all that is left is to pick a team, wrap ourselves in the flag of our chosen dogmas, and yell as loudly as we possibly can. It is the canonization of the shortcut, the deification of the talking point, and the ultimate tragic betrayal of the very intellectual tradition he so loudly and so profitably claims to defend.